Welcome to Multifamily Grit, where we bring in the experts to share their stories of the celebrations and struggles of one of the most important industries in the U.S., multifamily property management. Kerri sat down with Carl Swafford, Chief Operating Officer at Apartment Dynamics, a third-party management firm based in High Point, North Carolina. With over 3 decades in multifamily, Carl's journey is nothing short of remarkable, starting as a groundskeeper in 1990 and working his way through nearly every role in the business. HVAC technician, chief engineer, leasing consultant, property manager, regional, VP, SVP, and now COO. Today, he leads operations for 6,700 units across 52 communities with a team of 180, guiding growth through both expertise and heart. Carl's story is all about resilience, vision, and lifting others higher. He believes property management is not just about solving problems. It's about helping people, coaching teams, and building cultures that resonate. He has a rare ability to spot talents in others before they see it in themselves, pushing them to grow, master their craft, and prepare for the next level long before the title comes. His reward? Watching people exceed what they thought possible. But Carl also brings a deeper perspective. A Navy and Marine Corps veteran, he blends direct accountability with compassion, embracing what he calls the balance between running a business and caring for people as spirits working with spirits. A meditator and student of Reiki, he sees adversity not as a burden, but as an opportunity to grow mentally, spiritually, and professionally. His leadership style is equal parts discipline and heart, holding non-negotiables while still creating space for empathy, connection, and authenticity. Today, we'll dive into how Carl embraces chaos as opportunity, why he believes property management is simple if you don't let it overwhelm you, and how he builds cultures where people want to stay, thrive, and grow. We'll explore his leadership philosophy of mastering where you are while preparing for what's next, and why, at the end of the day, it's all about people working with people. Before we get started, this episode is sponsored by Fortress, the only core property management operating system built with an emphasis for affordable owners and operators. Fortress revolutionizes affordable management with features focused on automating housing assistance charges and payments to keep ledgers clean and accurate, centralizing file reviews and document storage through Fortress and AWS, and a free in-system smart waitlist to ensure your property stays in compliance. And don't forget, if you like what you hear today, please like, subscribe, and share with someone you think would enjoy this episode. Now let's get into it. Here's Kerri Davis sitting down with Carl Swafford for a conversation about leadership, growth, and what it means to lead with both accountability and heart.
So, Carl, I'm going to say if my listeners just listen to that introduction, they're sitting here saying to themselves, like, whoa, like Carl's really dang impressive. And Kerri is really in alignment with this human because, like, spirits and spirituality and like being direct but also compassionate and empathetic, like you and I are very, very similar in those ways. And not that I haven't always been that way. This is new for me over the past 5 years. But I think we're going to have a really great conversation. So thank you for being here today.
Oh, Gary, thank you so much for having me. And I'm excited. This is going to be a great conversation. And, I think a lot of people really dive into the business aspects of it. And they talk about metrics and, success and winning. And there's so much more
Yeah.
that goes into that. And I think everybody gets a sense that there's something more than what they're doing. And I think it's the connectedness that people have. And like you just said, just recently or however long ago, where you were able to connect the dots. And there's some people that can connect the dots a lot sooner than others. And if you take a step back and look at where you started or the experiences in your life and where you are today, you see that everything that you've experienced is built on to the thing that's just about to come. And then you go through that experience and then you make it through it and you take a breath and you say, okay, well, that wasn't too hard, right? Um, we all there's a promise we receive where whatever your beliefs are, or you don't have beliefs, or you're just kind of going through life, you're not going to be placed in a position that you can't overcome. And if you have that type of mindset and you're experiencing life through the opportunities that you get a different perspective. And at some point, you get
Yeah.
it. Lucky ones get it sooner than others, but that's what makes life such a great experience.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I will, I want to hit on one little thing you said, and then I definitely want you to share with our listeners how you got your start in this industry. But to your point, like that, n- you're not going to be handed anything or put in a place in life where you can't that you can't handle, that you can't move forward through, right? And actually, one of my favorite fitness coaches actually talks about this all the time, and essentially says like the proof is the fact that you're here today. Like you are still here, and that's the proof that like you've never been handled anything that you weren't able to get through and to push through and to deal with and to hopefully come out better on the other side. But regardless whether you came out better or whether you came out scarred, whatever it is, like you made it through. So like it hasn't happened yet, and it's not going to happen. So love it. Um,
Great
so
perspective.
but I do want to ask you, because your story is just a really fantastic one, to share with our listeners how you got your start in the industry.
So I was in the Navy, then the Marine Corps, and I think that's where a lot of like my structure came from, my drive,
Yeah.
learning how to work with teams, taking responsibility, being, serving others, and then given leadership um, opportunities, and then learning to work with teams. And
Yeah.
that really set the groundwork for me. And then um, from there, I fell into property management like every single one of us has. It's not like you're a kid and you say, "Hey, I can't wait to get into property management." You find yourself there. So I didn't know anything about property management. My I was dating a girl that was in property management. Uh, Now she's my wife. We've been married for 35 years. So we were both in the industry when we got started. I would pick her up when I was in the Marine Corps, and I had a regional come up to me and say, "Hey, we understand you're getting out of the Marine Corps, and we'd like to offer you a job in maintenance." And I'm like, I'm not gonna. I don't want to get into property management. Um, and over a couple of months of every day when I picked her up, they would ask me, "When are you getting into property management?" So at some point, I interviewed with them and started at the bottom and
Um,
uh, got a job picking up branches and blowing off sidewalks. And from there, I started doing maintenance and learning HVAC and um, got into leasing and managing properties and then managing teams and now operating an organization. So it was, and everything built on to the next thing,
um,
like we talked about earlier. And a lot of the success in whatever field you're in, it's mastering where you are and then learning what's next. And if you can master where you are and then think about, so if you're a leasing consultant or a leasing professional and you want to be a leasing manager, you master sales, and then you grab the job profile for the leasing manager, and then you start operating at your level as the leasing manager.
yeah.
It becomes a seamless transition into the role, and you don't want to find yourself being promoted and then learning the role. And effective leaders or effective supervisors are looking for the ones that have skin in the game and they want to do the extra things to get themselves prepared. And one day you wake up and you find yourself promoted in a new role, and you're more comfortable in that role because you already have the mindset for it. So that's what property management has taught me, and that's the beauty of this industry. If you're willing, because there's such a need for people in leadership roles, um, where when you invest in yourself and companies are investing in you, it just makes it so much of a smoother transition into those roles as you find yourself elevating with responsibility. I mean, there's no difference if you're a CEO or a groundskeeper. The only difference in those positions is what the level of responsibility is.
Yeah.
Everybody is a leader. If you're picking up branches, you're a leader in picking up those branches.
Yep.
And your team is expecting you to do those things so you add value to the whole team. And
Yeah.
it's having an understanding of that.
Yeah. I, I will tell you that that's actually a lesson that took me longer to learn than I really wish it would have, because I always thought, right, and I still have a theory around this today, but I really feel like you should hire the person, not the skill set, because I do believe that like there are innate qualities in us that once you've reached a certain age, that are really hard to change, that are just like, kind of born really a part of who you are as a human. And those qualities a lot of times can determine whether or not you fit at certain companies, right? Whether or not you're a good fit at a company where, like they expect you, or companies where you want someone to ask permission, versus other companies where you would rather someone ask forgiveness than permission, right? Like there's different cultures, different types of companies. And
Yep.
so I think that like who you are as a human in a lot of ways, just baseline determines whether or not you're a good fit at different types of companies and those different types of cultures. And so I would have always said that, and I did say for years that it's more about hiring the person, not the skill set. But to your point though, and something that I've learned over the past few years, it's the person who takes the initiative to learn about the next role while they're still in the role that they are, that are really the ones who have that skin in the game, right? Like my chief operating officer is such a phenomenal example of this. She was my VP of product, and like I was noticing some of the things that she was doing were very like COO esque, because I've been a COO as well. And so like I could see that what she was doing, like she was driving a lot of process change, and she was bringing global problems to me and like trying to solve them, across the entire, like across all of operations at Fortress. And I started seeing these things. And so I like briefly brought it up to her. I was like, gosh, like you would be like an
Yeah.
amazing COO one day, right? And then the next thing I know, she's like reading books on it. And she's like coming to me and she's like, I just read this book. Like a COO is a lot different than I thought it was. It's kind of vague. And like she's talking to me and I was like, oh my goodness. And then of course, like 8 months later, she's now in this role. Like I created the role for her and that's where she is. So I love that. I didn't see that, and I haven't had the experience with it. But I love that you teach it, because you have quoted that to me now. So it like rolls off your tongue that you should be mastering while you are, while learning the next job while you're still in, before you're in it, right? Like you quoted that. So you're quoting it to your teams, which I think is teaching them such a crucial skill. Like stay where you are and become a master, but like use your time wisely and like learn about the next thing that you want to do.
Yeah. Look, we're going to talk about look, your spirit, your essence, who you are. We're all
Yeah.
connected, right? But we're still humans, and we're driving processes.
Yeah.
And in property management or business, you're looking for solutionists. You want to find people that know how to find solutions to problems. That's what property management is. Every single one of us, again, whether you're a COO or just you're on a site or a community managing someone's homes, you may have your plan at 8:30, but at 9:45 it's toast, and you've
That's
got
so well
and
said.
so now it moves from an agenda to a to-do list,
Yeah.
and then you re-rack, and then you go a couple hours and then you re-rack again, and you go a couple hours and you re-rack again, and you're chasing your priorities, and that's what we want to teach people how to do. But we want people comfortable in property management because it's not going to go the way you think it's going to go, and
Yeah.
you have to be agile, and you have to pivot, and you have to realize that things are not going to go the way you want them to, and a lot of people can't survive in that type of environment because it is too much for some people. And
Yeah.
I talk to people that I've worked with throughout my career, and I tell them how special they are, and what qualities they have, because this isn't built for everybody. And the ones that can't pivot and can't move, they get eaten up here. And it's teaching the people that can do those things how to do it more efficiently and being proactive and productive at it. And then it's helping others as quickly as possible to get out of it before bad things happen to you. And
Yeah.
I don't mean that physically, just mentally.
Yeah.
It's just a lot. And you have to be, figuratively a firefighter, and you're out fighting fires, and you're doing your prevention to make sure that you limit how many fires you have. And that's having good quality people around you. So it's a very dynamic industry, and it takes a dynamic person to be successful in this industry. And that's the beauty of it, because it's not the same every day. It's not cookie cutter. And that's what makes it so exciting. And, finding solutions to problems is interesting. When I was a manager, Kerri, I was one of those managers that would bounce from property to property. I can't stay on a property that was actually doing what it was supposed to do. And I would move to the next one because I would just get bored with it. So I go to a property, and one of the first questions I ask the staff is, hey team, who are the residents that give you the most trouble? And it's, oh, and there goes the list. And I'd write the list of names down and their apartment numbers, and I would tape it to the back of my door. And those people were my new best friends. And if I could take care of them, we can take care of anybody, team. And that's the way that we pursued it. And it's running into the fires and taking care of the problems, and at least level setting your property, your community, your team, your department. You can use that anywhere to go after the issues that you have and find solutions to problems. While you're doing that, you're teaching your team how to manage through that, and how to think, and how to find solutions to problems. And then everybody grows from that. And I think the key is making sure people gain a certain level of confidence. So every day you get a little bit more confident, and you get a little bit more confident. And then you get to a point where you're welcoming chaos. You're welcoming those things that aren't working, because now you have experiences that you can find solutions to problems, and you can overcome those things. And things are not going to go the way you want them to, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of there are a lot of wins and opportunities, and it's understanding what those are.
Yeah. Oh, so many things to unpack there. Solutionists. I have written that down. We're going to start using that at Fortress, because I feel the same way in a lot of ways about different divisions of my team. I mean, my product team, absolutely, right? That is literally their job, to find
Yeah.
technical solutions to business problems that can be solved through technology. And then, of course, our customer success team, absolutely solutionists in working with our customers to figure out how to better solve those problems with technology, or maybe even with humans as well. I absolutely love that term, and I think um, you use those terms, and when you're using them and you're constantly explaining them, or even just calling your team members them, then they really start to see themselves as solutionists, and then they're more willing to to step
Yes.
outside of the box and propose those solutions, or be the solution, even if they see themselves as solutionists. I love it. I love that term.
Awesome. Yeah, we try to fold in, and when things don't go the way you want them to, it's those after action conversations. It's, well, what went right, what went wrong, what
Yeah.
would you what would you do different? And it's effectively listening to the responses from the people that report to you. And then what you want to see is tax or adjustments in how they approach things. And like you said, with your COO, you would sit back and watch and see it take root, and see how
Yeah.
they navigate through problems.
Yeah.
And what we want is to see people think. We
Yeah.
want you to think. And there's a term that I use often, where I don't want the people around me to shut up and color. Don't keep your head down, and I don't want you coloring in the lines. And It's funny. I keep I keep band-aids in my briefcase or my satchel, whatever. So when I if I'm talking to people or I'm they're like all down because they didn't do something they were supposed to, and they get emotional about it, and they're in their feelings, and it's kind of I let them talk through it, and I smile and nod and kind of listen along, and I hand them a band-aid, and I said, look, all you did was skin your knee, and I want you skinning your knee because skinning your knee shows that you're in the game and you're
Yeah.
playing hard, and this means something to you, and your emotions, the tears that you have, or you feeling as though you let somebody down, that's special, and that means
Yeah.
something. You don't want people to get their egos, in front of who they really are. And when they are authentic with you and they show you that they let you down, that means something. And to
Yeah.
embrace that and hold that, and talk through that means something. And that's where, like, we don't want people loyal to people. We want people loyal to organizations and loyal to the overall vision, loyal to the mission, loyal to the core values, loyal to the things that are impactful to the whole organization. And when you have a team of people that are loyal to that, then everybody steps in and does the things naturally that they need to do to drive success in, again, a community, a department, an organization. So they all feed into that.
Yeah. That's a really unique perspective, and I like it. I I think that it's interesting to talk about being loyal to the company and the mission and not the people, because you read studies on this. I'm really into like human psychology and like what motivates people, and like if anything does motivate people, or like how people are motivated. And um like one of the number one reasons why people leave jobs is because they're leaving the people that
Yeah,
are there around
yeah.
them. And so it's hard, right? I mean, it's just complete honesty. It is hard to get people excited about or motivated by or drawn to the company's mission without also having them loyal to and committed to and drawn to the people at the company as well. I think that's hard, but I'm interested in your take on that.
So obviously you're building relationships with people, and a lot of that comes into effect if you're having one-on-ones.
Mhm.
And those one-on-one meetings should be held monthly. It's a meeting where the direct report is actually guiding the agenda
Yeah.
of the meeting with their supervisor, right? So if you're having those meetings monthly, and the direct report is saying, hey, these are the things I'm working on, these are the things that I'm falling short on, um, what do you think, what are you seeing? And then the supervisor says, well, I've been watching, and these are the things I see, and I think these things will help you improve. And you're establishing this back and forth relationship. The direct report is asking the questions, or these are my challenges, and the supervisor is in a position of providing resources and giving direction of how they can improve themselves. That builds relationship. That
Yeah.
builds the loyalty piece, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's crucial for any organization to have those one-on-ones where you stop the noise and you're listening to the people that are reporting to you of how you could best support them.
Yeah.
That's where that piece of loyalty comes in, right? So now I'm loyal to you as my supervisor because you're giving me those things and not necessarily the person. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
And when
Yeah.
you do that, you're helping that person gain confidence or gain strength in who they are and what skill sets they bring. And then
Mhm.
they add value to the organization. So they see how their part fits into the mission statement, or their part fits into the company's core values, or um, they see that, I'm here 8+ hours a day. And you know what? I actually bring value to the organization. And if you've got one person that turns into five, that turns into 20, that turns into 180, you have a different dynamic in an organization, and people are there now Kerri, when you start hiring people, there's a vested interest in are you hiring the right people?
Yeah.
Are you making sure that you're adding people into the team that's going to add value to what we're doing? And there becomes a sharper eye of who the talent is coming into the company, because people are now protecting the organization, right?
Yeah.
And they're protecting their core values and protecting their reputation, and it takes on a life of its own. So
Yeah.
I think that's key.
Love that actually. It's you It's so funny. I feel like you and I run our companies very, very similarly, um, in terms of our mission. And, you know, I love your Band-Aids. I think that's so awesome and so much fun. We have a very similar concept, not with Band-Aids, but I do tell the team, we talk about it all the time. Like, if you're not making mistakes, then you're not trying hard enough. So, like, if anyone on my team appears to be perfect, which I know isn't true, but even if you appear to, then either you're not trying hard enough because you're kind of hiding behind what everyone else is doing, and you're not pushing boundaries and trying to create more and do more than you already are, kind of in this bubble, or you're not telling me about them. So like we have one of two really big problems here. And so we embrace that as a part of our culture, where like mistakes are applauded and rewarded, because of that, because it means that you're trying really hard. And then very similarly to your um, statement about like creating this overwhelming kind of culture in the company that almost like bleeds into itself by ensuring that, if someone comes in and they're not a part of that culture, that shines really quickly. I'd say we have the exact same policy. Like for me, I say all the time, if we hire the wrong person at Fortress, which is going to happen, like people show
Mhm.
up in interviews. I mean, quite frankly, I feel like interviewing is in many ways is like a 50-50 shot. Like you just, unless you have a referral, there's a lot of other factors, but like generally speaking, you're looking at like a 50-50, maybe 60-40 shot at that person working out. And and being aware of that is one thing, but then the next thing is like to give your team the empowerment to be very clear with that person and everyone else on the team, whether that person is or isn't fitting in. And to be clear, that doesn't mean that person is a terrible person. To your point, like every human fits on in a different place on the spectrum of the ability to deal with large amounts of stress and chaos and anxiety. And like property management professionals need to be up at the top of that, right? I actually I was at the dentist this week, and my dental hygienist was like talking about the stress and her job, and I just giggled to myself, and I'm like, "You come in and clean teeth, and then you go home." Like I just kind of giggled. I was like,
It's all perspective, right? It's all perspective.
exactly, exactly. I was not judging. I swear. I just giggled. I was like,
That's
the
great.
difference in our level of stress in the
That's
day is
great.
like very, very different. But like everyone fits on that continuum somewhere. So
Yep.
anyway, so it's not that those people aren't awesome humans or couldn't be super productive. They just can't be super productive in a startup or in a property management company or
Yep.
whatever that is.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
It's finding the right people with the right skill sets and the right mindset. And um, yeah, it's interviewing, and I'm mirror you completely. It's people, you interview people, you hire people, you're in 30 days, and then you say, where's the person I hired? Because that person's not in front of me, right? Like
Yes.
what happened to that? What
Yes.
happened to that person? And it's having those kind of real look. People want adult conversations, and there are difficult, uncomfortable conversations to have with people, and we know how difficult it is to hire right now. And I think for all property management companies, multifamily, leasing and maintenance are the two most difficult positions
Hmm.
to hire for, and retaining those people once you do hire them. A lot of it is culture. A lot of it is relationship building. A lot of it is pressure. How much pressure can they take? Um, it's one of those industries where people come in there and yell at you. All right, so we're going down some rabbit holes here. So
Yeah.
people don't wake up at 9 o'clock in the morning, grab a cup of coffee, go on their balcony, have a couple of sips, and say, "Oh, it's 9:30. The office is open. Let me go yell at somebody." Right? It doesn't.
They don't? You
It
sure about
doesn't. It
that?
doesn't work like that. This is how it goes. They called in for a service request and nobody showed up.
Yeah.
They called in a week later for the same service request and they're promised somebody's going to be there in the next 15 minutes and nobody shows up. They call another week later and then they say, you know what, I've had it. And then they go in the office and they yell at somebody.
Yeah.
And, then you get yelled at, and then no one's going to talk to me like that in their head. And then they
Yep.
start yelling, or the body language gets all jaded. And
Yep.
then it just becomes a mess. And you have to take a step back and say, what happened? Where did we mess up? Because obviously we did. This isn't your fault. How can we make it right? And then have somebody step up and take ownership for it and then
Yep.
get it done. And it's finding people that can actually do that, and it's teaching people. And during an interview process, whether it's one person interviewing and making a decision, or three people interviewing and then the group making a decision, or depending on what level it is, you got 5 to 6 people interviewing, like an executive, and then or a regional manager, and then making a group decision of, is this person the right person on our team, and then making sure that you onboard them the right way and position them to be successful in your organization, doing the things that you need them to do based on your mission, your vision, your culture, your values, and on, right?
Yeah.
So finding people is really, really difficult. But when you do find the right people, it's making sure that you retain them. And then that goes into a whole nother hour conversation about onboarding and making sure that they're positioned to be successful in your organization. But interviewing is a challenge, which deserves the time, the effort, the resources to make sure you get it right, because there's so much at stake when you get it wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. You know, I really want to dive into something that I think you take extremely personally, and it is so important to you, as the Band-Aid story honestly showcases. But the fact that, and you've mentioned this several times about like the fact that to be successful in property management, you really have to, first of all, be able to get to this place of handling and managing large amounts of like stress and chaos, right? So you have to get there. And to be clear, there are humans like you and I who like thrive in that environment, but there's not a lot of us. Like most people get really pretty uncomfortable up here. Um, and we need to find a way to make people comfortable up here. So that's one really important part.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other part is like we have to find the way for the human to like to teach them, because this is another skill that quite frankly I think we should be teaching our children from like starting at third grade until they graduate high school, the ability to disassociate from your ego, right? Like to see your ego and to like see that that's what's happening. Like someone's coming in screaming at you about a maintenance request, and like you're the leasing consultant, or you're the assistant manager, and your community manager and regional haven't been able to hire enough maintenance technicians for like 2 months. And so like this isn't my fault. Like I'm not the reason we don't have enough maintenance technicians to come take care of your, burnout light bulb or whatever it is in your apartment.
Right. Right.
Um, but to be able to like, and humans today have such a problem with this, but like we all have egos, but it's the ability to see the ego in action and like let it go. I mean, like, don't, this isn't about me, and I don't need to get caught up in this. So like, but you take this to a whole new level, right? Like in terms of teaching your team members so that you have more of those people than there are out there in the world who can handle that high level of stress and then
Yep.
who can let those sort of things go. How are you doing that?
Uh, okay. One, patience, an
Yeah.
extraordinary amount of patience. And I think, everybody in life goes through that on their own level, in their own situations. But um, some people have it and some people don't. And you have to determine quickly who has those skill sets and who doesn't. And we're all wired differently we're all here for different reasons.
Yeah.
all here for different reasons. So um, you've got people that are accountants that are focused a certain way and their mind works a certain way and they're networked a certain way to be an accountant in a very successful one. And then you have people that have, they're into sales. So they're all about the sale, the hunt, the win. Um, you have people who want to manage and they want to lead processes and they're focused on leading processes. And that's where people are in their zones and they're comfortable. And as a hiring manager, you're looking for those skill sets for that position that best suits them and suits the organization. And I think when people are in those positions, that they're purpose purposely driven because those things excite them.
Okay.
They're more apt to be patient and work through those things. It's when people are misaligned, that are in the wrong jobs, doing the wrong things, that everything gets all jacked
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
they're not happy, they're not comfortable, which means the people in their cubicle are not happy and not comfortable. And the people that they interact with on the phone are not happy and comfortable because people are not aligned where they need to be. So I think the first thing is to be aligned in the right role
Yeah.
for what your purpose is in this life. Um, but if you have people and you see that they're not comfortable and they're firing back on people, it's helping them understand that maybe you're not in the right role and let's find out where that place is for you. And then some supervisors, their job is to get people out as quickly as you can. You know, I had a CEO that I worked with that was just an extraordinary leader, and his name was David Fakito, and he had a lot of terms and a lot of catchphrases, but one of them was fail fast,
Mm-hmm.
and he wanted you to fail fast and have the safety net of you're not going to get in trouble for failing fast, but you are going to face a consequence if you know you're failing and you don't do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
And recognizing people that are in roles that maybe they shouldn't be in, and you as a leader don't react quick enough, or have conversations, or worst case scenario, make a change. um, the impacts to everybody around that person is going to be a lot worse. So I think, taking the time, evaluating your staff is, probably 90% of it is making sure that
Yeah.
you're aligned with having the right people. Um, and then you see that chaos kind of feathers out because you have people that are able to catch that ball and then throw it back instead of catching the ball and then running around not knowing what to do with it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's really important.
Yeah. Um, do you, this is something I struggle with, and I would actually argue that everyone struggles with it. In fact, I often say that by the time you move someone along, that's what we call it at Fortress, where I've called it at all my companies. We don't fire people; we move them along. Like we
Yeah,
we move them along to go find their destiny somewhere else.
exactly. Perfect way.
So we move when we by the time we get to the point of moving someone along, if they haven't already quit, which we consider a huge win at Fortress, if someone like, sees it themselves and walks away, like that we consider a big win. But
Yep.
if we have to be the ones to call it and to tell someone to move along, I would argue that 90% of the time we've done it at least 90 days too late. So I use that statistic all the time. Like 90% of the time we've done it 90 days later than we should have. And you said if you don't react quickly enough. Do you react quickly enough in those instances?
Yeah, yes and no. I have and I haven't. And do we fail on people or do people fail on themselves? I think a lot of people fail on themselves and they just get to a point where they're waiting for somebody to let them go.
Yeah,
And I think leaders need to understand that. And
I think so too.
so,
I love that.
yeah, so look, if you're having your one on one meetings and you're actually, you're listening and you're talking as a supervisor, but you're also evaluating every 30 days. And that is your opportunity as a leader to go to somebody that is starting to fail or showing cracks in the foundation of who they are. You're obligated to bring those things to light and talk about, hey, I'm seeing some trends, I'm seeing some things, and I really honor and respect you, and we hired you for a reason, and we see these things in you, and do you not see those things in you that we see in you? And it's having those kind of real, like, well, adult conversations with people, um, uh, about, you know, we value and respect you, but if you don't take care of these things, we're gonna have to make a change. And as abrupt and as difficult as those words are, people are receptive to that.
Yeah.
And if they really care about where they are, and they care about the people that they work with, and they care about the organization, and their reputation of who they are, that resonates with people, and it gives them words to think through, where they get to make decisions whether this is the place for me or not.
Yeah.
Um, so the next month, if you're seeing the cracks get a little bigger, the conversation changes. And
Yeah.
when you don't have those kind of interactions, and you don't have those kind of hard conversations, then you're positioning that person to continue to fail. And you're also failing on the organization that you're responsible as a leader to take care of and do your part. So I have failed in that a few times, um, more wins than losses. But yeah, I've been bitten by that, because sometimes we see things in people that they don't yet see
Yeah.
in themselves.
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes people just fail on themselves. So
Yeah.
again, I fail fast, fail
Yeah.
fast, and make decisions that are best for the company and the individual.
I love that sometimes people are waiting for someone to let them go. I think that is such a powerful reminder to leaders in any company to remember that and to think about that when they're going through that struggle of whether or not they continue to try with someone or they just let that person move themselves along, and to remind themselves that sometimes those people are actually like needing you to do that hard thing for them because that's what they need in order to like move on to where they actually could be successful or something they could enjoy.
Kerri, let me ask you a question. Have
Yeah.
you ever had anybody thank you for moving them along?
Yes, I have.
There you go.
I have.
So I think we all have people that are in that position of making those kind of hard decisions. So I think we have all
Yeah.
had people that come back to us a couple of months later and say, "Hey, thanks for doing that. I'm in a really good place now, and I appreciate everything you've done for me, and
Yeah.
I appreciate the experience, but thank you for letting me go." So
I've had
that's
people
that's
thank me in
important.
the middle of the firing conversation, like tears in their eyes, like sad about the fact they don't know what the hell they're going to do next, but that they're
Yep,
thankful that this isn't
yep,
where they have to be tomorrow because it just wasn't a fit.
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
I love that. Such a good reminder. And I think this is a good segue because you definitely approach leadership in a unique way. And I think it's just a small adage, but I was at a retreat with my husband a couple of weeks ago, and it's this gorgeous place in southern Tennessee, right outside of Chattanooga, um, where you're kind of encouraged to like put your phone in a baggie and like it's like very
Yep.
focused on like mindfulness and yoga and meditation, and the buildings you stay in are actually like um, like tree houses, and so it's just very like one with nature and one with
Yeah.
whomever you're there with. And we did a yoga session, and I wore this shirt that had a sacred geometry on it, and so the yoga instructor was like, "Oh my gosh, I love your shirt, like where did you get that?" And so we're talking, and he was talking about his yoga practice, and I was like, "Gosh, I wish I was more into yoga, like and I even wish I understood a little bit more about like sacred geometry and all that." That's not, unfortunately, like where I've been, but I'm a huge into meditation. I meditate for 20 minutes every day that I possibly can. If I can only squeeze in 3, then I squeeze in 3. But like I get my time in. Like and he was like, "Wow, like I don't know anyone who meditates that much." And I was like, you're you're talking to me about sacred geometry and you're a yoga instructor and you work at this glorious retreat. You don't know anybody who meditates that often. I think that sometimes like it hits me how rare it is for us, for those of us who to find others who have found the value in that time and that practice. But you have. So you're a daily meditator.
I am.
And you even practice Reiki, which I think is incredible. And we can dig into what that is. I have a feeling there's a lot of people who are listening to this who are like, I have no idea what that is.
Yeah.
Um, but and if you want to share, absolutely. But more so, how does that impact like who you are and how you lead in your company? That you bring such a spiritual and intentionally mindful lens to leadership.
What what is meditation? Meditation is quieting your mind, going inside yourself, and listening. Right?
Yeah.
Everybody meditates. Whether you think you're meditating or not, you're meditating. If you are caught up and if you're sitting there and you're daydreaming and you're thinking, oh, my job's awful, people around me, I can't stand them, and on and on and on and on, you're actually meditating. You are focusing on negative aspect. You're quieting yourself and you're bringing in all this negativity. So you are
Hmm.
meditating, thinking, contemplating. You are pushing out the thoughts that you have into the universe, and all that's coming back to you. If you meditate where you quiet yourself and you're thinking, what did I learn today? How did I improve? You use that positive thinking, you quiet the mind, then you're meditating at that level. So we're all meditating. And a lot of people don't even think about that. So it's what are you meditating about and how are you focusing that's actually driving your experience and what you're bringing into your life. So it's an interesting twist on meditating, and I don't think people give that a lot of thought. So if you're going to do those things, why don't you use it for positive and not negative? And start growing yourself and being a better human. And you have to work on yourself before you can work on somebody else.
Yeah.
And if everybody just focuses on themselves and growing, mentally, spiritually, they're focused on their bodies, they're focused on their thoughts, they're focused on their words, they're focused on their interactions. Um, that's we're all here to learn lessons, and we're all here to go through different experiences. But the object is all the same for all of us. Our job is to come in here and be a good human. You brought up human a lot.
Yeah.
Um, that's kind of why we're here. And all these things that we go through, what we consider negative are nothing more than just opportunities for us to be better at who we are and how we interact with each other. But meditations, I mean, it's critical to take the time to just quiet yourself and either before you start your day or when you end your day, it's same road. It's just how am I going to start my day and focus on that, or what? Let me think about my day and how I reacted to things, and how can I do this differently going into tomorrow. And I think that's a great way to look at life and a great way to look at yourself.
So you're challenging me right now. I'm not going to lie because I immediately rebelled against you when you started saying that everybody meditates. I think that, but I understand your explanation of it, and that we all have moments where we're not distracted. Although I would say that they're rarer and rarer these days, and that the younger you are, the more you live in a perpetual state of distraction, whether
Yep.
that's with your phone or your computer or with activities or with reading a book. I mean, even a book is a like you're just constantly distracted. And so I so but yes, we do all have moments of not being distracted, but you're really challenging me to think of unintentional moments of distraction being meditation, although I understand where you're going with it. It's interesting. It's
It's
interesting. You're
not the
challenging me here.
Yeah, look, Carrie, it's not the technical definition of what meditation is,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Meditation is where
Yeah.
you sit in a quiet room and you center yourself and you open up your mind where I'm nobody, I'm no thing, I'm just existing and kind of let your spirit talk to you, right?
Yeah.
That's meditate. Okay, so if you're sitting there and you quiet your mind and you bring in all these negative thoughts,
But is that quieting your mind?
you're quieting your mind. Well,
You're just not distracted. You're
it's
just not
quieting your
distracted.
mind, but you're so meditation is a focus. Either you're
Yeah.
focusing on quietness or you're focusing
Yes,
on
that's true.
noise.
Yep.
So you can meditate in noise, but that's what you're bringing into yourself. So
Yeah, that's true.
so it's
Yeah.
meditation on different levels. It's quieting means just sitting still and
Yeah.
paying attention to your thoughts, right?
Yeah.
They can be positive thoughts or they can be negative thoughts.
Yeah.
So meditating, if you want to be successful and you want to get a benefit out of it, it's quieting your mind and listening to your higher self and your spirit.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, hey, I just read Adam Grant's Think Again. So I am here to be challenged. Like I am okay. I am okay to push my boundaries of what I think is right versus wrong. So I love it. I love that unique take. I really do.
Yep.
So, but I do think that there is something very interesting about you, which is that so obviously you have this unique take on spirituality and interaction, and you've even said, and I mentioned it in the introduction, so I want to bring it up and I want to ask you what this means, that we're spirits working with spirits, not just people doing a job. What does that mean?
So we all have our own unique journeys and we have our people just don't fall into your life on accident. There are people in your life that come in and come out, whether it's relationships or people you work with or that brief, 2 minute conversation with somebody that you may never see again has an impact on your life.
Yeah.
And maybe it was a word that they said, or maybe it was a way that they looked at you, or maybe it was
Yeah.
body language. It's still a contact with you. And, people rush through life and run through life and they don't pay attention to the signs and what's happening in that moment and
Yeah.
what the value is of that. And I think we're all connected. So, starting in this career, I had people that came in and came out of my life and they added value both ways. I learned from people what to do and I learned from people what not to do.
Hmm.
I learned how not to talk to people. I learned how not to micromanage people. I learned
Yeah.
how, what
Yeah.
my body language meant. And so I learned what not to do. And I learned from some extraordinary leaders in this industry of what to do to be successful. So it's taking those interactions and those contacts and it's applying it to us. So all of us, we are um, all the experiences, all the people that we've met in our life, we are those experiences.
Yeah.
And the way we think and the way we react is all based on those experiences. So we're all teaching each other as we're on different journeys, but we're kind of going down the same road, right?
Yeah.
And it's understanding that. So, I talk with everybody. I talk with maintenance people in our company and because I can connect with them because of my journey in property management. I can talk to a tech and know what their day's like and the pressures and their frustrations. Or if I'm working with a leasing professional, I can connect with them on sales and frustrations and you know what what to do, what not to do when it comes to leasing, or manager where they're managing a team and they're trying to find the right fits. And so I can connect with them. And that's the value that I bring to people that I interact with every day. And it's understanding those interactions and helping them grow and helping them learn how to be better at what they do. So um, When I meet somebody, one of the first things that go through my head is, why am I meeting this person? And what am I supposed to gain from that? When you do that, now you're in the moment, right? You're in the moment with this person, and you're trying to figure out why. Why am I going through this? Why are we having this conversation? And you'll find that as you keep going down your lane or in your journey, where those moments and those interactions will come back to you, and you'll understand why that was said to you, or you'll understand that glance or that look or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But all of our interactions fold in with all of our connections that we have here.
I think that is so, so well said. And I have this, you described it so well that those small interactions you have with people, like how those can create lasting impact in your life and like who you are and how you see the world. And I have this silly thing that I do where if I'm going through like the drive-through somewhere, it's usually Starbucks or McDonald's with my kids. But if I look in my rearview mirror and there is a young female in a humble vehicle, like I will pay for the car behind me, right? Because like I remember what it was like. Like I come from very humble means, and like to be a young female, like trying to find her way in the world. And I was just like, it's just if that's the one thing that can like just send a mission or just a concept of like the world can be kind and good, and like if you pass on that kindness and goodness, like you get it back. I'm a huge believer in like the in fields of energy actually, but anyway, so if you create that energy, like that energy comes back to you. And so I'm a big fan of that, just in the way that you hope that someone feels that makes them feel good, and that they then pass that goodness on in their next interaction actions, or it's something that they carry on in their life, or it can change the fact that like the world is terrible and difficult and hard and out to get them, but then there's those random acts of kindness. And to your point, that she didn't even like see me, like they don't. So it's like it doesn't matter whether you spoke to someone, or it was an interaction of two vehicles, or it was a body language or whatever that is. I just think you described that so well in how those moments can um, be so impactful to someone, and to then be so intentional with it every time you interact with someone. It's like, why am I meeting this person? Like, why am I here with this person? To create that sense of presence in that moment, and to not let that just be like a fleeting experience. I think that's really awesome. I love it.
Yeah, look, life is not unicorns and rainbows.
It's not.
It's not. It's it's meant to be a struggle. It's meant
It
to
is.
be challenging. It's meant to be stress filled, because that's where all the magic is. That's where all the growth is. That's where development comes from.
Yep.
We're not here for an easy ride, and
No.
um, that's the beauty of the experiences. And it's interesting. I saw something on LinkedIn yesterday. I'm going to go ahead and read it.
Yeah.
It says, I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game winning shot and missed. I failed over and over and over again in my life, and that's why I succeed. That's from Michael Jordan.
Yep. Love
So,
it.
right? So it's those opportunities. And some people get all wrapped up in, I'm a failure, nothing's going my way, I'm not succeeding, I'm not. And they're not seeing what those opportunities meant for them, or what that challenge meant to them from a development standpoint. And if you have a different perspective, where you're looking at, okay, so this isn't going well for me, and these are the things that I'm being challenged with, taking a step back and saying, okay, what do I need to adjust, and how do I win in this situation? And then thinking through what you need to do to actually succeed in whatever that situation is. And that's where, and we talked earlier about confidence and people gaining confidence and getting more, focused on finding solutions to problems. And that's what those opportunities are. And you get through that, you understand that, there is an out, there is a door I can walk through, there is a way that I can succeed from this. And what we do is we learn from these things and then we pass those on to the people around us.
Yeah.
Hey, I went through the situation, didn't work out.
Yeah.
These are the things I did, and it kind of worked for me. And um, I think you looking at opportunities and embracing them instead of looking at opportunities and running away is what separates people and from the winners and people that things may not go their way.
Yeah. Yeah. Carl, you've talked a lot about like purpose and the fact that we all have our unique purpose here. So, as one of my final questions, I really want to ask, you've built an incredible career helping others not only step into roles that they maybe would have never thought was possible, but also helping ensure that they're moving through roles that aren't right for them as well. And so you've really built a career out of helping people find success no matter what that looks like. Is that your purpose? And if not, what is your purpose and what legacy do you hope to leave behind?
Oh my gosh, Kerri, I wasn't expecting that one.
I know.
That's a bit of a
Sorry.
zinger.
I
That's a good
know.
one. Look, interesting. So I take the most passion out of serving others, which is kind of an oxymoron because I love leading at the same time, right? So I think leadership, servant leadership, a lot of people talk about being a servant leader. Um, I don't throw that phrase around a lot because that can get kind of twisted, where people want to be recognized as a servant leader.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think if we all focus on the person next to us and we look at what their needs and how can I support the person next to me, when you do that, you're actually supporting yourself.
Yeah.
And I think you're growing yourself when the person to the left and the right of you are more important than you are.
Yeah.
And I love serving. I loved, it's interesting. I was a Cub Scout and then Civil Air Patrol and then the Navy and then the Marine Corps. And then I got into property management. And all of that was service to people. And I enjoy taking care of people. And
Yeah.
my role now is taking care of people professionally. I want
Yeah.
to make sure that they're positioned to be successful because people did that for me. And I take my the most joy I have in this industry is watching people get promoted
Yeah.
and watching them invest in themselves and playing a small part in investing in them where they get to grow themselves and they get to feel good about who they are and what they've accomplished. That lights up my heart and that makes me feel good because it means that I've mattered and I made a difference and I've added value to somebody else's life. And when each of us do that, we all get to celebrate in that. So I think that's my purpose and my passion.
I think that serving others is actually one of the most rewarding, like, and selfish acts that a human can take, but it is one of the best selfish acts that we can take because all these studies have been done, but our brains actually release more endorphins when we give than when we receive, and when we celebrate others than when we celebrate ourselves. And so, but it's the mindset of acknowledging that and embracing that and like serving others for the purpose of them becoming successful, which then does create something really special in us. So
100%.
I love that.
100%.
It's beautiful.
Yep.
um well, Carl, I have really enjoyed our conversation. I thought we were going to agree on everything, but you really challenged me. And I am going to think about this whole meditation thing. People who aren't
Uh,
meditating or meditating. I don't know about this yet. I'm still thinking.
well, just to kind of level set there, you and I are on the same page with meditation. It's
I know
quieting
we are.
yourself,
I know.
but everybody's meditating one way or another. So
Hey, I can't say that yet, but I'm going to research this. I'm going to think about this. That's for sure. I'm
okay,
going to do what Adam Grant says, and I'm going to think about it.
good,
I'll probably be
good,
emailing you soon. um, but I have enjoyed this conversation so much and enjoyed being challenged. Honestly, it's been great.
good.
So I hope you have as well. And I really appreciate you for sharing your, in my opinion, very unique perspective on leadership and specifically um, leadership in the property management industry with your perspective. I think it's really been awesome to hear. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And before we wrap things up, though, I do have two questions, and I'm
Sure.
very excited to hear your answer for one because I'm just excited. So I'll put the question out there. Do you mind to share a story with us about your time in property management?
It's a little self-serving, I think. But so I told you when I came into this industry, um, I had people in this company that kept on wanting me to interview with them. So I interviewed with a regional manager. His name was Ken Sherman, and um, we're going through the interview process. And at the end, I get the question that we all get of, well, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I said, so Ken, what exactly do you do? He's like, well, I'm a regional property manager. I'm like, well, what do they do? And he went through his whole spiel. And I said, all right, 5 years, I'd like to be a regional property manager. And he's like, I got the polite nod and smile, and he said, yeah, okay, well, if you have a desire and you put your best foot forward, and yeah, there's a chance you could be a regional manager. I'm like, all right, awesome.
Tell me you became
So
this guy's boss.
I think it was like 6 years later. I started off as a maintenance tech
Yep.
one, right? So I don't know, it's like five, maybe 6 years later, I called him up and I'm like, hey, kid, I'm a regional manager. He's like, you got to be kidding me. And I'm like, yeah. And then 9 months later, I called him back up and said, hey, I'm a vice president. And he's like, wait a second, I'm not a vice president. I'm like, thank you for everything. And it was because of that conversation that he really level set me and he gave me something to shoot for. And that was the driving force. And
Yeah.
it goes back to you know being in the position that you're in and mastering that, and then
Yeah.
elevating yourself to the next level. And it's all visual, and it's inside here.
Yeah.
And this is what drives you, is your heart.
Yeah. I love that we're ending where we started. And I truly do. I'm so impressed with how clear your mission is around that, around mastering where you are and learning what you need to for that next jump while you're still
Yep.
where you're at. I love it. So then my last question, which I'm also extremely excited about your answer to, is do you have a book that you'd like to recommend to us?
Yeah, look, I got lots of business books and
Yeah.
principles and practices and all that stuff. But uh, really, yeah, we're gonna stay on topic. We're gonna stay on
Let's do it.
theme. But Becoming Supernatural by
Ooh.
Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Okay.
Um, Dr. Joe, absolutely love him. Look, we'll go back to the meditation piece for a second. Where you put your thoughts and where you put your feelings and your beliefs are what you create.
Yeah.
So if
Yep.
you are wrapped up in I'm not going to be wealthy you will not be wealthy. I will not be in a good relationship. You will not be in a good relationship.
Yep.
Um, I I hate my job. Oh, well, you know what? We're going to make sure you hate your job.
Yep.
And you create the things in your life. And, it's proven that the heart has more power than the brain does when it comes to beliefs and making things your reality. So, um, there's a lot in this book of where you direct and guide um, who you are, how you're seen, and how you walk yourself through life. If you stay positive and you believe in your heart that these things are going to happen for you, um, God, the universe, you will make those a reality for yourself. So you dictate what happens to you
Yep.
to an extent.
Yeah.
And there's, after reading books like this, you understand that there's a self responsibility
Yep.
um, to manage your thoughts and your beliefs and your outcomes.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are rudderless in this life and they just go wherever the currents are taking them, right?
Mhm.
And, it's important to stay in the current because the current will guide you, so to speak. And when I mean current, I'm talking about your work, your relationships, how you interact. Those are
Yep.
currents, right?
Yep.
Um, but it's having a belief of where you're going to go, and then things will magically happen in your life to make those things happen for you.
Yeah.
Positive thoughts, positive outcomes. Negative thoughts, negative outcomes.
Yep.
And I think this is a really good read. I think Dr. Joe has come with just some, you sit back and think about your experiences in life, and then you read through this book. And I think you can see how those things are reality and those things are happening to you because you are guiding and directing what happens to you.
Yep. I love it. Can I say, attending a Dispenza retreat is like on my bucket list. I am
Mine
like,
too.
I
Mine
want to
too.
attend one. So one of my a fellow co-founder, she's actually the founder of a company called Odetta, which I love that company. But she attended one recently and posted about it. And of course, I immediately emailed her and I was like, "You attended a Dispenza retreat? Tell me all about it." And she was like, "Oh my God, life changing." So it's a bucket list item for me for sure. Um, I want to ask though. I actually had someone recommend "Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself" to me, which I read and loved. How would you compare those two books? Have you read "Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself"?
Yeah, I think a lot. So I think you have one that has a lot of stories in it, which is becoming supernatural. Like you've got
Okay.
real life stories that are in there that
Okay.
he takes science and techniques that he has, but he folds in real personal stories to that.
Okay.
I think the first one is more the technical side of it, of how all the things kind of work in
Okay.
conjunction with it. So that's the two things that I've taken away. Both books are extremely great reads. It's one of those books where you just don't want to put it down and you
Yeah.
just keep
Yeah.
going and going and going and going and going.
Yeah.
But I
Such a
think
great.
Dr. Joe, he's a great speaker. He's a great writer. And again, I think there's a lot of things in there that when it comes to um, your thoughts and the impact your thoughts and
Yeah.
what feelings you have dictate what happens in your life,
Yeah.
for good and bad. Um, I think God wants to serve us as much as we want to serve God, right? And He's going to fulfill where your dreams and your thoughts are. You just have to. A lot of times, you know what, Kerri? A lot of times we walk by wide open doors. We walk by wide open
We do.
doors and we second guess ourselves
We do.
and we don't trust and we find ourselves going two steps back instead of two steps forward sometimes. and then situations have to re-rack themselves, which extends things that would have been great sooner in our lives because we're not paying attention. And I'll go back to moments, right? Um, take a step back into work. I mean, I've had situations with regionals or managers or maintenance supervisors, maintenance managers, where um, you have difficult conversations with them, where you fold in principles, practices, best practices, and you're also folding in kind of the connection piece at the same time, right? And it's knowing how to have those conversations where they understand their connections and their relationships with people in addition to a process or a practice. Um, and it's great to see people light up when they understand how those things are connected with each other. And for those people that are straight focused on business and it's only business, and okay, well, you know what, you're creating an unpleasant experience for the people that work with you. You are successful, you're driving numbers, you're driving metrics, you're winning with numbers, but you're killing yourself on your people. And then your good people are walking away from you in that successful company, but that will only remain successful for so long until the people piece catches up with it. And then you find yourself in a lot of business trouble, right? Reputation. And then you have people that are all, rainbows and unicorns, and they're not looking at the reality of where people are, and you know, they take it down a wrong lane. And there has to be a balance between running a business and caring about people.
Yep.
Um, and I think our organization, Apartment Dynamics, we have extraordinary leaders, and Tom and Mary Gwynn, who I've only been here for 8 months. They've been doing this for 26 years, since 2001, and um, this company cares deeply about their people. They care deeply about reputation, but also they care very deeply about business practices and exceeding expectations from ownership groups that we represent, and making sure that people are doing the right things for the right reasons at the right time. And that takes focus and that takes drive. And again, sometimes that takes, awkward, uncomfortable conversations with people so they understand the importance of that. And successful companies are the ones that are able to balance both of those. So, look,
Yep.
reading books about business and reading books about self development and
Yeah.
spirit and, God and placement and all those things matter. And it's having that balance that separates you, that attracts people, where they feel as though my time here means something and people appreciate me and they care about me. And yeah, I got in trouble, but my gosh, they did it in such a way that I was laughing when I was walking out of their office. And I want to do better, and I grew, and I feel stronger than I was the day before. And
Yeah.
that's what we want people to experience. And it's not just Apartment Dynamics, but it's those other successful organizations that are able to balance the two, which makes for knowing that your time was valued and you were valued as a person at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like you and I could go on and on about this topic all day. Um, Carla, I couldn't agree with you more. And I think that you have to once you see it and see it in action and like see that the fact that you're that you're really that you really care about the person and that person's success and that person's growth, and then you start to see that that care like creates a successful company. Like that's what creates that long-term success and happiness and culture of a company that lasts decades. And so just like where you're at today. So
Excellent.
Carl, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. This was just such a wonderful conversation. And I've really enjoyed speaking to you and learning from you. Although you may get a hefty rebuttal email in the next week.
I hope
Haven't
so.
decided yet. It's been
I hope so. I hope so because that makes us think. So that's
Yep.
a great thing.
Yes.
So
Yes. Yes. Awesome. Well,
awesome.
Carl, thank you again for being here.
Thank you, Kerri. It was my joy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Multifamily Grit. I hope you enjoyed hearing Carl Swafford's incredible journey. His story, rising from a groundskeeper all the way to COO, reminds us that growth comes from resilience, curiosity, and the willingness to embrace both accountability and compassion as leaders. We also want to give one more shout out to Fortress, our episode sponsor. Fortress is committed to revolutionizing affordable property management with smarter, more efficient solutions that keep communities thriving. If you found value in today's episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with a colleague who would enjoy Carl's insights on leadership, culture building, and embracing both adversity and opportunity with intention. Until next time, stay gritty, stay passionate, and we'll see you back here soon.